And recording now. Okay, so next week we're going to talk about labels, how to read labels. So those of you that have seen that already before, that's what we're doing next week. We're going to talk about how to read sugar on labels. But this week I'm going to cover something that was discussed multiple times this week in different meetings and has been brought up by multiple people, and that is how to deal with and how to fight sugar cravings. Because that has been an issue for a lot of people. Lisa, you're shaking your head yes, so you probably know this. And I'm sure if Wendy, if we could hear her or see her right now, she'd be shaking her head too. Probably everybody I talk to ever has dealt with or struggles with sugar cravings. And so it's something that I definitely want to cover, and this week it's come up a lot. So just a list of some things that you can write down or think about. If any of them hit you and strike you as something that's usable for you, then take notes on it. I don't have a page tonight. I usually have like a little screen thing and I share my screen and have this, but this time I just have it all on my notes. So if any of them strike you as something that might be something that you can use, then write it down and take a note of that. Again, you can always watch this video later too, so that would be fine. But so number one of the things that you can do, first of all, is avoid processed foods and sugary foods. I know that's the hard part. It kind of sounds like it's, well, yeah, if I could avoid foods like that, then I wouldn't be having sugar cravings in the first place. And I totally get that. But there's something that's called the hedonic response. And it's something that happens. It's the response that happens in a message that is sent from your liver to your brain that tells you that you really, really like something. So when you eat sugar, that is going to go through your liver and process in your liver, and that is going to send, your liver is going to send a message to your brain. It's called the hedonic response that says to your brain, ooh, that was really good. I really, really want more of that. And that hedonic response, and this is the part that's actually really important, that response can last in your brain. Your brain likes repetition and memory, right? So your brain is going to hold that in, and that response can last in your brain from 72 hours up to 30 days. So if you eat, and it's totally dependent on you, so it's different for everybody, but the research says 72 hours up to 30 days. So what that means is that if you're the person that can eat a bowl of grapes and 30 days later you're still craving sugar based on a bowl of grapes you ate today, that can be a real issue. And that's where avoiding processed foods and sugary foods in general has to kind of come into play. This is where a lot of people get themselves in trouble, because a lot of us think, well, I'm doing really, really good, so I'm going to give myself this little treat. And then we give ourselves that little treat, and then that little treat continues that cycle of craving that little treat again and again and again. So the problem comes into play when we give ourselves the little treats, when we have what people call cheat days. I usually call them off-plan days. I don't like the idea of cheating, because we're not cheating. We're just choosing to feed ourselves something different. But ultimately, anytime we feed that craving, we continue that craving cycle. The biggest thing with getting rid of cravings, the number one thing you can do is to avoid those foods in the first place. It's hard to do it, but if you can get to a place where you kind of eliminate them from your life, you will, most of the time, get to a place where you stop craving those foods. And most of us have experienced that at some point, where you're, eating really healthy, and all of a sudden you realize, like, wow, I just want really healthy things, and I want water and vegetables and, grapes, and I just love all these really great foods all day long, and they're not thinking about sugar anymore. But remember that as soon as we feed that, we start that cycle back all over again. So that is something to think about. And I always tell people, it's totally up to you how you choose to live that life. But remember that if you're trying to get rid of cravings, you might have to get rid of those foods to do that. If you don't want to get rid of those foods, then you just have to remember that cravings might be something that you struggle with. And that's kind of the choice that we make when it comes down to deciding how we're going to feed ourselves. One of the second things, so number 2 on the list of how to fight cravings, would be to boost your serotonin. Boosting your serotonin levels will help fight cravings. Different ways to do that. Some of the best ways to do that is to exercise. So if you're having a craving and you notice that you're craving something that you really shouldn't be eating, then go for a walk, go for a quick run, jump on a bike, get to the gym if it's time to do that. Whatever it might be, doing something that's exercise related will boost your serotonin levels, which will lower your craving levels. So that's something that you can do, even if it's a 10 or 15 minute thing, that might help eliminate that craving. 95% of our serotonin is produced in the gut. So another part of that would be gut health. That's one of the reasons that I recommend the probiotic for everybody, because when our gut is healthy, then we're producing serotonin at the level that we should, which means those cravings should be at a natural level and not kind of on overdrive. It seems to be, though, when a lot of people are dieting or they're trying to eat right and they're trying to eliminate those types of things, that suddenly our cravings become on overdrive more so than maybe normal. Maybe it's because we're not feeding them typically, but gut health, remember that gut health is imperative. 95% of our serotonin is produced in the gut. Serotonin will help keep that craving down. Another thing you can do is satisfy it naturally. So healthier options. Now, if you're on our Rhino challenge, then you have a lot more options to choose from when it comes to ways to do that. You might be able to have something, but just have it on your plan. So if you're doing like an LCHF plan and you're like, well, I'm really craving sugar, how about making something, a replacement for that exact thing? Like maybe you want brownies. Okay, so you can make brownies with a sugar that's totally approved on plan, and you can still have them, and it'll solve that craving. It won't be the same sugars, but it'll still taste like a brownie, and it'll be amazing. It's still a brownie. It's just a different type of sugar. If you are one of our transformation challengers, then that's going to be harder for you because you have to stay to your list, and the goal of the transformation is to get that result. So I'm not going to recommend replacing those foods until the end of your 6 weeks. That's going to make it challenging. So that means you're going to have to try to find something natural that's on your list that can help with that. For a lot of people, that tends to be nut butters, like a spoonful of peanut butter or something like that. Protein can help solve cravings. If you're craving sugar and sweets, eating a piece of chicken or, putting something in your mouth that's protein based can also help with that. I often recommend a ketone drink, something like this. If you have your ketones and you like sweets and stuff like that, yep, I do. Just grabbing a pack of ketones. This one's raspberry lemonade. So when I drink this, I feel like I'm drinking something sweet. So that can help. Or if you're not on a plan that you're drinking ketones, then drinking like a protein shake or something like that can help as well. So getting something in, both of those are still going to have a little bit of a sweet flavor to them. Yogurt is a good replacement. When you're craving something sweet, you can have some yogurt, have some Greek yogurt and add a scoop of protein to it, or add some of your ketones to it to flavor it. And that can feel like you're having a little bit of a dessert. So that would be for my transformation challengers that are during the 6 weeks, you're having to stick to that list. It's harder to satisfy it by making replacements during that time, but there's still things on your list that you can kind of adjust and make into satisfying that sweet craving. Drinking lots of water, obviously, and I think a lot of us know that one, like, if you have a craving, drink some water, because it might just be, something else. It might just be thirsty, or you might just be hungry. That's absolutely true. So keep drinking lots of water. Overall, and this isn't something you can just like decide to do right now, like drinking water, but keeping your blood sugar stable will help you fight cravings. So if you're on a plan and you're not eating a ton of sugar, this kind of goes back to the first one, avoiding processed foods. So if you're eliminating that up and down, that constant up and down of your blood sugar by lowering your carbs, then having a steady level blood sugar will help with not having cravings as well. So that's kind of a long-term one. Having plenty of greens also helps with that. Fermented foods can help with that. So sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, any of those fermented foods can help you with cravings. You'd be surprised how fast a sour taste in your mouth can eliminate the craving for sugar. So maybe try that. And then another side effect of the fermented foods is that they're also great for gut health. So once again, going back up to your gut health and having strong serotonin levels, boosting your serotonin, then going back to gut health. So sauerkraut and kimchi and kombucha and kefir and things like that are going to be great for gut health. Also, that sour taste can get rid of that desire for sugar. If you want to go more into the mindset aspect of dealing with cravings, and I think a lot of people, there's a lot of those things that I just listed, a lot of those things you can do in the short term. In the long term, I think we have to find out why we're always craving those things. If it's just a food thing because you're eating it all the time, then that can be an easy fix. But if it's an emotional eating habit, I think you're going to have to take some different techniques into play as well. Number one, food is fuel, and looking back at how we think about food can change the way that we respond to the food that we're eating. I do think we have to take time and separate ourselves. I've had multiple conversations about this week. And when I was able to eliminate cravings and cruddy food from my life, I wasn't able to do that until I realized that I kind of had to separate myself from food for a while. And instead of looking at food as something enjoyable and as something emotional, I had to look at it as fuel. And I separated myself from that. I didn't do that forever. I still enjoy food. I love food. But I had to separate myself long enough to realize that my emotions and my value was not tied up in what I was eating. And we're very, very emotional based when we eat. We eat for comfort. We eat for a lot of different reasons, and most of them don't have to do with hunger. So being able to separate that food is fuel. Thinking and emotions and action. Thinking causes our emotions cause our actions cause our results. I have a video I think I put out earlier this week. You might see it in this week's newsletter. It's talking about just that because it's been our conversation all week this week. Food is fuel. So if you can get yourself to remember that your food is fuel, it's not comfort. People are comfort, right? Going for a walk and doing something for your body and spending time with your kids and spending time with a loved one and maybe going to a movie or going for a hike or, doing some yoga. Things like that should be our comfort, not food. So we have to be able to separate and say when you're having that emotional response to food, like, my food is my fuel. That is it. It is here to help me survive. Am I fueling myself or am I poisoning myself with what I'm putting on my plate? And then separating that from emotion. When you're feeling the emotions, reach out to people. Do something. Go for a walk. Go for a hike. Clean your kitchen. Talk to your spouse. Talk to a friend. Call somebody. Go to the mall. Do something different than feeding that comfort so that we can start to separate our connection with food when it comes to our emotions. We have to remember that our emotions are not satisfied with food and our value is not tied up in what we eat. This is a conversation I just had with a client a minute ago, literally 10 minutes before this, was that our value is not determined in whether or not we ate well or unhealthy today. That does not determine our value. And that's something that a lot of us struggle with, especially women I've noticed, but men do also, is that if I'm on plan, I'm really proud of myself today and I'm super confident and I'm an awesome person. But if I cheated today, now I'm going to beat myself up all day long. And we have to remember that our food is not determining our value. Our value is determined by what we have internally, what we have inside and how we treat others and how we impact lives, right? Our value is built up in so many other things, but not in our food. We have to learn how to separate that and stop punishing ourselves when we go off plan and stop rewarding ourselves when we do well. Because one of the most common things I hear is, oh, I went and had pizza last week because I was so proud of myself. And I'm like, okay, all right. But we're still putting that value in food. We're still rewarding ourselves with food. So enjoy food all you want, but try to separate the value of that food from your person. Try to not let your person be caught up in that. Another thing to think about is meditation. If you're struggling with a food craving and you can separate yourself for 10 minutes and do a meditation, oftentimes that can take you out of that craving as well, because you're going to be feeding positivity into your mind. You're going to be recognizing your body, how you feel, what you're thinking, doing a mind-body scan, something like that. So getting an app that can help with meditation would be great. And that can help. And there's actually apps out there that can help you with sugar cravings specifically. And then there's something you might want to look up online if neither of those work for you, if you want to try something different. There's something called emotional freedom technique, and it has to do with tapping pressure points. I know everything sounds all hoodoo and weird right now, but tapping into pressure points. There's multiple different pressure points in your body. One of them is on your forehead, and it's basically trying to reset your brain by reaching those pressure points, tapping those pressure points and telling yourself positive things, and it actually will reach different parts of your brain. So it's called emotional freedom technique. You're welcome to look that up. So that's just a list of about 10 things that can help or should be able to help with fighting cravings. So hopefully that little lesson today, guys, will be helpful to somebody. I know 99.9% of the people I talk to say I have cravings and I'm struggling with those. So try some of these things. Remember, none of these things will work if you don't try them. So take some notes down and pick one and say, I'm going to try this every time this week that this happens, and see what you get out of it, and make note of what you get and which ones work for you and which ones don't. But we have to apply something. We have to take action on something that I just gave you on that list. So pick something on that list and apply it. And then the next time you message me, instead of saying, hey, Jan, I have all these crazy cravings and I don't know what to do about it. Next time, I want you to message me and say, hey, I have these crazy cravings, but I tried number 3 on the list and it worked or it didn't work or whatever. Okay, we learn from that, but take some of these things and apply it. So that's my challenge for you guys this week, how to fight cravings. Hopefully something on that list was helpful to somebody. And now I'm going to open up Wendy, who muted herself, and I'm going to unmute Lisa. And I'm going to see if either one of you guys have any, was any of that stuff helpful, first of all?
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
very helpful.
Awesome, good. Any of those that you think you guys might apply this week when you have cravings? Because we know we will, right?
So I don't really crave sweets, but like the past couple days I've been craving sweets. So today I went to the store and got peanut butter and just had a spoonful of peanut butter because I'm like, there's nothing on my list that's sweet. Yep. But the yogurt with the little bit of the ketones is a really good idea that I think I'm going to do too, because I'm sure it's not going to be the last of my cravings.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll come and go. They'll come and go for sure. Yeah. That's nice that you don't normally deal with that, though. That's good. Hopefully this isn't a new thing that's going to pop up for you.
No, it's more salty foods that is harder for me.
Well, then it's a good thing you're keto, because salty foods is like, yeah.
It's hard.
Salty foods.
Yes.
Wendy, how about you? Is anything on there going to be helpful for you? Something that you might apply?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot of them before, and
right.
You know, when I remember, I try them.
Right. Okay.
But I am definitely a sugar junkie. But I mean, I've done a lot better over the last, probably 6 months or so. And a big part of that, though, was actually giving up. About almost 2 years ago, I gave up diet soda, and actually all soda. I don't drink any soda at all. I think that actually made it worse. Like, it made me crave it even more.
Did it? Do you have other foods in your life that are sweet still?
I try to mostly do fruits, fruit. But I love to bake and stuff. I mean, through this challenge, I haven't been doing that, but I do love to bake. So
yeah, so that's the challenge doesn't lend itself to baking very well.
Yeah, that's been hard to not do that. But I think eventually just everything in moderate. It's okay to have that stuff every now and then, and I can do that and not like totally have a downward spiral where that's all I want.
Right. And that's great when you can get to a place where that is, your norm, where you can have something once in a while and treat it like a treat, and then go back to it like what you need to do. When people can do that, it's a very sustainable way to live. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I don't remember, there was some book that I read one time, was reading, that said, if you are going to have that kind of stuff, I mean, obviously you can't have it all the time, but always make it so that it has to be something that you made yourself, that it can't be like store-bought.
Yeah.
And you do have less, and then you also know what went in it. So
yeah, that's one of the rules that we have in our house. If we're going to have something sweet, we have to make it ourselves. And so it forces you to go to the store, buy all the ingredients, make it yourself. And it certainly limits, like, sometimes you just don't, because you don't want to go do all of that. You're like, I don't really feel like it that much, and so sometimes it'll keep you from doing it in general. But when you make it yourself, you control all the ingredients, which is awesome. So
yep,
that's cool. Awesome. Do you guys have any other questions for the office hours this week? Anything that you guys need as far as nutrition goes?
I don't.
I just have one. So like my schedule, I close. So I get home at 9:30. 10 o'clock sometimes at night. Okay. So I'm used to eating 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. So like I've been having these cravings, and I'm having like an avocado or like a salad. But is there a time where I should just like not eat after? Because I'm trying to like plan my meals and have like little snacks during my shift, because it's hard for me I'm just so used to it. So my body's just thinking I'm hungry.
Right. Okay. So it totally depends on your body and the person. It can change for anybody. I would say if you're hungry, eat. Obviously proteins are really great for nighttime. Carbs are not always that great. You're doing keto anyway, so it doesn't matter. So you're going to be off of that anyways. Carbs aren't always the best thing at nighttime. They can slow your mind down, but they're also going to kind of do some things in your body that you're not necessarily want a bunch of stuff in your body at night. It depends though. Sometimes people don't do well with that and other people do just fine. Sometimes people gain because they eat too late and other people do fine. It just kind of depends on your body. What I would say though is just like any other time, if you're hungry, eat. If you're not, don't. And then what will happen if you're eating late at night, then maybe what I would do is shift it a little bit where maybe you're eating a little bit later in the morning so that you're still giving your body like an 8 to 12 hour fasting time. Because you want to give your body about 8 to 12 hours at least each day to just kind of settle in and fast and cleanse and you know, start to process everything and eliminate and, you know, do all the things it needs to do with repair and whatnot. But giving yourself a little bit of a fasting state, especially going into ketosis, will help you go into ketosis, will help regulate your blood sugar and your insulin levels, which will help all of those other things that we've, you know, talked about, cravings and everything else, weight loss and all of that stuff. So I would say if you're going to eat very, very late at night, I would shift your morning eating to a little bit later if you can. But what seems to be better for the majority of people is shifting to earlier eating and stopping at a point at night where it's not too late. How long would you say after you eat that you're going to bed?
Well, if I eat at like 10 or 9:30, 10, typically go to bed at like 12:30 or 1, so a couple hours after.
Okay, so it's a few hours after. Okay. Yeah, I would say it's probably not a major deal. Like, I don't know that I would have a massive meal and then go lay down right after. You know, it's
Right.
not going to settle well. I would say it's probably not a big deal. But I still would, if it's late at night, I would still kind of try to get that 12-hour-ish time period in before you eat again, just to allow your body some time to go into a ketotic state.
Okay, cool.
So just, yeah, but regulate it. See how your body does. I mean, if you're doing that and it's working for you, then go with it. And if it's not, like if you're doing everything and it's not working, then we can kind of play with timing on that. But I would, for the most part, I would listen to your body. If you're hungry at that time of night, then I would eat. Because you still want to feed your body and your body needs to recover overnight. And if you're not eating, but you've worked out and everything else, your body's not going to recover. And then it causes all kinds of other issues. So I would eat if you're hungry. I would not eat if you're not. And kind of listen to your body as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anything
Thanks.
else?
No, that's just my main question.
No? Okay. Wendy, you said you had nothing. I'm going to go on to the three questions that I got this week. A couple of questions, and you guys can stay or go or do whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you. This is just for video's sake to put those answers out there for everybody. So one of the questions was, can you talk about the fats? If I'm eating healthy fats versus drinking ketones, do I do one or the other or both? I'm concerned about getting too many fat calories in a day and more than I'm supposed to be getting. So this is probably somebody that is eating a ketogenic diet. And I will let you know that you're probably not getting too many fat calories in a day if you're following the food plan. You shouldn't be getting too many fat calories. And you definitely want to be eating the fats and taking in the ketones. Ketones are very, very different than the fats that you're eating. It's a whole different thing. BHB, or beta hydroxybutyrate, is a derivative of fat. It's a breakdown of fat, but it's going to go directly into your bloodstream, directly through your liver into your bloodstream in the form of ketones, whereas the fat that you're eating is adding nutritional value and all kinds of different things. So you definitely want the fats from your food and the ketones in your diet if you're doing that. So not one or the other. If this person, and I don't know who it was that asked this question, but if you are stalling out and you're not losing anymore, I'm assuming you're losing. If you're not stalling out and you're not, or if you're stalling out and you're not losing anymore, then come and talk to me. Let's look at what you're specifically eating each day. And if you think you might have to come talk to me, take pictures of your food for a couple of days so that we can talk about some specific foods and make sure that you're not eating too many fats. But you're probably not if you're following the food plan. The food plans are designed to get you the right amount of foods, okay? So if you're following the food plan, you should not be. And that person was from Transformation, so I know you should be following your food plan. Another question I got was, am I supposed to be counting my calories, or does sticking to the planned ounces per meal keep me within the calorie limit? The planned meal plans that you guys have for Transformation, this was also a Transformation person. The meal plans that you guys have are designed to give you the right amount of calories based on what those numbers were. So when you first downloaded them, and in the parentheses it says, download this one if you're between this weight and this weight, that is to set up your basic calorie count. But I will say again and again and again and again and again, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied. Eat again when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied. So even if you're on the same food plan as the person next to you and you're supposed to have the same amount of calories, one of you could be getting 1,500 a day and one could be getting 2,000 a day. If your body's hungry, eat. If it's not, stop. Okay, so your calories can go up and down from day to day. As long as you're getting enough calorie to not put your body into a bad place, then it's okay. The way to know that is if your energy is dropping, if you're having a hard time starting class, not finishing class. We all have a hard time finishing class. But if you're dying at the beginning of a boot camp class, then there's probably something going on. If your sleep is a wreck, if your stress levels are a wreck, if there's a bunch of different things happening, then let's talk. But otherwise, you're probably getting enough calories. No, you don't need to count calories. Be aware too, for those people that really enjoy counting calories, the reason that we work in ranges like we do on this chart is because calories can be wrong by 25% high or low based on what you see on your label. So if your label says it's 100 calorie meal for 1 ounce of food, that calorie count can actually be either 75 or 125. That adds up in a day. So 25% higher or lower than what you thought. So we always feed and eat in ranges and then just try to listen to your body. So hopefully I was able to answer that question for the person who asked that. The other question I got this week, and I think we talked about this already earlier this week, but it was a question about having more dryness on their skin than usual, and it was another one of my keto people. No, that's not a common thing that I hear a lot with keto people, with it, unless it's a keto rash, which it didn't sound like it was. Just dryness of skin is not a typical thing for keto. It does not mean that it's not tied into that. Anytime you change a food plan from anything to anything else, if it's a dramatic change from, it's not just keto, but it's, if let's say you're eating one way and then all of a sudden you go paleo, or you're going paleo and all of a sudden you go standard American, any major food change can cause weird things in the body. So just be aware of that. The dryness may have something to do with the food, or it just could have something to do with the weather. It could very much be, anything right now. So I would say if it continues, gets massively worse, or it becomes uncomfortable, then talk to me and we can see if there's something going on. But otherwise, I would assume it probably has to do with weather and or like a major food change. But no, not common with keto to have major dryness. And that's all the questions I got this week. So ladies, if neither one of you have anything, we'll end this. We're all good. All right. Woo! High five, everybody, for showing up. And Wendy, I trust that you're high-fiving us right now.
Yes, I am.
All right. I'll see you guys in the gym.
Bye.
Okay, bye, Jen. Thank you.
Bye.